Kate. Welcome to my garden. We're going to talk today about growing vegetables in containers. Not all of us have garden space where we can grow in the ground, so growing in containers is a wonderful way to give us the option of growing healthy food for our families. You can put a pot on a patio, you can do raised beds. There are all kinds of different ways that you can do container gardening. And there are a lot of vegetable varieties out there that are perfectly good to use for smaller spaces. First thing you need, of course, is a nice sturdy pot, and I'm using a black nursery pot, which you can get, which plants come in, and you can also probably beg, borrow, or steal from your local big box store. A lot of people have them, they need to recycle them, so they're quite easily available. One of the nice things about them is they have drainage holes. This is really important that your plant have room to take in a lot of water and then let the excess drain off. Otherwise you're going to get a soggy pot and you're going to get rotted roots. The next thing you need is a high quality potting soil. Again, this is available from big box stores, from garden centers. You want something that has some organics in it, and if you can add a little garden soil to it, it will make your pot a little bit more stable. But if you don't, then just use a good high quality potting soil. The soil that I have is actually designed for raised bed gardens, so it's a little bit heavier than a potting soil that you'd use for a house plant. We're going to fill this pot with our soil about halfway, maybe a little bit more than that, to give us room to put our plants in. We don't want the plants to be too deep in the pot, but we want to make sure that we have enough room when the pot is filled, that we have at least an inch of what we call headroom, which lets us fill it with water and then let the water drain off. So the plants that I've chosen to put in my pot, this is a tomato. And this particular tomato is called Rutgers, and it is a tomato that is determinate, meaning that it grows to a certain size and it stops instead of growing on, so it doesn't often need a trellis. There are a lot of varieties out there that are designed specifically for patios, and they just have a smaller size. They're a little bit more diminutive. So choose patio plants if you can, otherwise stick with the smaller varieties. Getting ready to plant, you want to make sure that your plants are well watered before you put them in the soil. You also want to make sure that your soil is somewhat moist, because if you have dry soil and a wet plant, or vice versa, the drier soil is going to wick the water away from the plant. So you want to make sure it's nice and soaked before you get started. From there, you simply squeeze the pot, pull the plant out. This one has a really nice root system on it. There's no reason to bother that, to mess with it. Just leave it exactly like it is. And with the tomato, you can plant it a little bit deeper than it was in the pot, because they have a tendency to root along the stem, so it'll be perfectly happy being a little bit deeper than it was in the nursery pot. To make this pot really look attractive, I'm actually going to put the tomato toward the back, and I'm going to plant some herbs with it. You can plant one thing in a pot, or you can plant several things in a pot. For this particular one, I have herbs that'll actually go well with tomatoes. This is lemon thyme, so I'm going to tuck that in there. I'm going to tuck an oregano in with it. Again, gentle with the plants. The oregano will drape over the pot and be an absolutely beautiful addition. And then traditionally with tomatoes we plant basil. So I have a basil plant that I'm going to put in the pot as well. So you can see it's already a full pot. Here's some examples of other vegetables I have planted in containers. You can see in this pot I have pole beans that will climb the trellis, and they're planted along with pak choi. Pak choi is a spring vegetable, so when it's finished the beans will take over as summer vegetables. In this pot I have snap peas, again a spring vegetable, and planted in the center is Swiss chard, and when the peas are finished, after spring is over, then will come the Swiss chard, and it makes an absolutely beautiful container. Swiss chard is ornamental enough that it actually looks almost like flowers.